So first things first, who do you think is going to win, Brad?
Oh man, I think I'm leaning fade Rory, but I the easy answer is Rory, which just completely mind fucks me. You know, it's like to say both of those things in the same sentence in the same breath is just so depressing to me, at least. So
Dude,
sad.
just really sad.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know though, because like Rory has not really been himself, at least from the golf I've seen him play.
Well, he's been trending forward, right? Like
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
just rusting off the dust, and I think a lot of it has to do with changing his putting stroke. Um,
Yeah, we've seen sort of flashes with that new left hand low. You know, it seems like he's had flashes of good and then flashes of bad. He hasn't really been consistent with it.
Yeah, it's all having to get used to it. I mean, that's all it's going to have to come down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the highest touted golfer, surprisingly, is Rory. Like, no way.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It shouldn't surprise you.
No, not at all. Then Hideki being highly touted is interesting to me. I didn't see that coming.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me either, though. When you look at Hideki's past ownership percentages, they've been nuts, like all the way through. Yeah, I mean they're. Well, let me pull. I gotta pull them up.
Pull them up. Then we have Phil, of course, and we have JB Holmes, of course. Then we have Daniel Berger. That's interesting to be that highly touted for Daniel Berger, I think. Ricky Fowler, yeah. Gary Woodland, yeah. Webb Simpson, yeah. Adam Scott, yeah. Justin Rose, yeah. Bryson DeChambeau, yeah. Chucky, yeah. Patrick Reed, then Harold Varner. Fuck everybody.
Wait, but does Daniel Berger strike you as somebody who's going to be highly owned or not? I mean,
he's going to be highly owned. Like,
you think so?
Yeah, no way he isn't. I've been seeing a lot of like just chatter on Daniel Berger. Everybody's like, all the Daniel Berger, all the Daniel Berger, all the Daniel Berger.
Huh.
Yeah. And then Lucas Glover, Patrick Desire. Then we go to Paul Casey, Brendan Steele, Byung Hun An, Jamie Lovemark, and of course Patrick Rogers. Yeah. And then Henrik Stenson, Will Wilcox, Kevin Chappell. Yeah. Yeah, there's no names that really surprise me, other than like Hideki being that high though. That's the only thing I was really surprised. Like everybody was like, "Oh, Hideki." It's really interesting.
Yeah. Maybe I'm mistaken. So the site I'm looking at shows Hideki 12% at the Masters. That's the most recent one it has of him, though.
Let me check on fantasy golf metrics really quick.
Because I feel like he was surprisingly high 2 or 3 weeks in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
Hold on. Oh. Hold on. Just gonna. Okay, Hideki has the average ownership this season at 8%.
Average ownership 8%. So that's 8%. Not as high as I would have guessed, actually.
No. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like, just all of a sudden, everybody wants to start counting Hideki Matsuyama. Oh crap! I accidentally exited out of my spreadsheet.
I mean, I've liked Hideki. You know, he's actually more consistent, I think, than people think. Like as a cash game option.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm right there with you. It's just really interesting to me. Like people always like just talk shit about him, and they were saying he can't win, he can't win, he can't win, and then like he wins the WMO, then everybody's like, oh, he can win, he can win, he can win. Um, it's so interesting to me, like just the mindset in general.
Yeah. I don't mind. Honestly, I don't mind taking Hideki at a pretty high clip, though. Like he's going to be high owned. I think we see that now, but I don't. It's not going to probably scare me off of him. I don't think. I mean, I'll have him.
Yeah,
Probably,
not at all.
I mean, you think he's going to get up to 30%? That seems excessive to me.
Nah, no. I think like 25 is going to be where he's at now. It's so interesting because I didn't think that he was going to get that talked about at all. Like, he's never a guy everybody's like, oh, you just like get really on him. And it's really interesting. The Hideki love's a little annoying because I love him and I thought he'd be a little lower owned. Yes, same here. I didn't think this would be where it would be at all. It's a very interesting situation.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, I think there's going to be some really surprising ownership numbers that come out of this week. Because when you start when you start breaking it down, like they can't all be high owned. You know? I mean, I've heard people talk like JB Holmes is going to be over 20%. Rory, everyone's saying Rory's going to be 30-some. You know, when you start looking, DeChambeau is going to be over 20. I mean, there's no way all of these guys are going to end up at the clip that people are saying.
Well,
so which ones are going to be the surprising low? I mean, I could see Rory being well under. I haven't projected at 27%, but I could see him being well under that.
Kind of going back to last week, we saw all the high the high price guys like over 20%. That was the main deal. And then we saw quite a few guys in the 7K range be over 20%, and then we saw a few guys in the 8K range that were over 20%. I think it could be possible. Everybody's just on the Bryson DeChambeau hype, like so hardcore. I just think we need to wait, just wait a few weeks until he gets his footing for sure, and then pounce on him. I'm not on the Bryson DeChambeau hype at all.
So if you look at my ownership percentages for my GPPs, I have them 50% right now.
No shit.
Yeah. Does that make you nervous?
Yes.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of people that are really closely involved in this PGA Tour industry that have a lot to say about Bryson DeChambeau. It's not our own little niche of
I know,
crystal ball readers.
It's really just over the top hype. Like people talking about him getting to the Ryder Cup. I mean, like that's nearly impossible for him unless he gets a win. So there's just too much hype going around. It's like when Tiger would come back from his surgery and everybody's like, oh, Tiger's back. And then after he does bad, then they're like, oh, he's not back, and then he has like one good turn in, then everybody's like all hyped up again. It's just kind of like that, I think.
Yeah, but he first of all he could win. I mean, let's not rule that out. Yeah. There's been several first-time winners on tour this year already. A lot of them actually. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily rule that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just being objective about it, like how likely is it going to be that Bryson DeChambeau wins, right? That's kind of how I am thinking about it. But I just think there's too much hype going around DeChambeau. I know I like go really hardcore on HV3, but like compared to what I do with HV3 compared to what everybody else does with Bryson DeChambeau, it's like very minimal, I think. But let's get into it. So I saw your ownership projections, and it looks like you're going really chalky in a sense up top.
Wait,
So what's
my ownership projections or my ownership for my GPPs?
ownership for your GPPs?
Yeah, I'm gonna go probably fairly chalky. I think across the board this week, to be honest with you. There won't be a whole lot that I really. I don't know. I feel like the past few weeks I've gone back and really reviewed my lineups, and I feel like I've been over contrarian, if that makes sense. I feel like I've sort of gotten to the point where I feel pretty comfortable knowing who's low owned, and my process has become too centered around the idea that I want to get this guy or that guy low owned rather than get the guys who are going to maximize my potential to win money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, getting too cute with it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, this week, Justin Rose is a good example where I think he'll be. I mean, I don't know. He's still been touted quite a bit, I think, but even if he's 15% owned or so, you know, that's fairly low when you look at kind of the alternatives. And to me, it feels like he's going to be lower owned as a result of last week, as opposed to lower owned because people are not confident that he has upside, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Justin Rose, I'm piling on because I think he has really reasonable upside. You know, he has really reasonable upside and is going to be low owned, but not for reasons that rule him out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so that's sort of my strategy this week, is to try and kind of, based on my reviews of the last couple weeks, kind of compensate my game a little bit and try some new things here.
And try to be a little bit more objective in the way you look at things, right? That's kind of how you're going about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
So how about you? Are you on the fade Rory? I mean, I guess that should be the first question really we ask this week is, you know, talking about lineup building and lineup construction. The first question you probably need to ask yourself is, do I want Rory or do I not want Rory? And if I do want Rory, how much of them do I want?
I think you either go big or go home with Rory. Like, you either fade him entirely, like we've talked about before, or you get on him 100%. He's only played 18 holes since Masters. That doesn't really worry me, but it might worry other people. Maybe I'm just kind of going off narratives and trying to make other ways to make myself think about getting on him more. But it's kind of that situation where do you feel safe rostering a guy who hasn't been playing too much in the last 3 weeks? So, but he's probably been practicing every day, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I think maybe I hope he's been practicing every day. I'm going to be on him 100% this week. I don't see why I should not go for it. I mean, when you have Lucas Glover at 6,300 or you have Sean O'Hare at 6,100, I mean, there's so much value at the bottom that you can really get yourself into a situation where you don't have to pick and choose golfers that you hate. So I kind of like it for this week.
Yeah. So I read I didn't actually read the article, but I saw a link to a tweet that said Rory has only played like one round of golf. I'm not sure it matters to me. I mean, I'm sure he's been working on his game. It's, I mean, I think what people forget to recognize is that golfers don't always practice by just playing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I hope it's productive practice and just not hitting balls on the range, just like whacking balls. I'm pretty sure he is doing like random practice on range if he is doing like practicing. I really hope that's the case, but I wish we could have like a microscope where we can just like watch these guys do what they do behind the scenes and so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it at all. I mean, if people are going to be panicky about it, I think they're overthinking it a bit with Rory. I mean, he's one of the best ball strikers ever, and he just can really tear up a golf course if he wants to. So, and
Yeah.
and he's had great success here in the past. So I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah. All right, so you're going to pile onto Rory. That means you're probably going to skip most of these 10K guys, I would assume.
Yeah, I haven't started building lineups yet, so I need to get on that.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to fall asleep while you're making them.
Yeah.
Like you do every week.
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible. But yeah, I think I'm going to try to make my lineups around Rory and I think Hideki or JB Holmes. I think that's where I'm going to be starting with my core, or I'll drop down to Chucky 3 sticks and start being a little bit more, what's the word? Be more balanced in my approach that way. So I think either starting that way. Hold on. Got a question on Twitter.
Yeah, so you're going to be a little more balanced, and the thing is, I'm not sure I think you said maybe you'd put Hideki in there, but you're going to really be reaching, I think. To have Rory and then Hideki in there, you're going to have to really scrape the bottom of the bucket there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the guys in the 5K range, though? You can get Scott Pickney for mid-price.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott Pickney is not a bad golfer at all. I mean, I'd take Scott Pickney at mid-price all day. Yeah, like Eric going like balanced with Rory means being like not going under like 6K or like 7K. So like you don't like pile up all the like high price golfers that you can. Just like stick around the low 8s and the high 7s, and you can stay around that like that area. You might have to take a couple guys like Brendan Steele at 7,200, but that's not a bad thing to think about either.
Yeah,
so,
it really is interesting. Lineup construction wise, with Rory, I think you end up with like 7,400 average salary, and this week there are a lot of guys in that low to mid 700 or 7K range that it's kind of enticing to think about kind of making that your construction.
Yeah, I mean, the golfers in the 7K range are not bad, and the low 7K range is not bad at all. I mean, I'm going to be attacking HV3 really heavily in GPPs, so I mean, I am going to have enough cap space to get everything around situated. I think to where I'm going to be content with everything. I mean, it's not a week where I'm going to be freaking out with players. So like going to last week, if I take the highest price guy, I'm not going to have a lot of guys I'm going to like in my lineups. But this week, I'm pretty content with the majority of the guys in the low 7K range, the high 6s, the mid 6s, the low 6s. I can really build a team that I can really just enjoy building and not hate myself for it.
Yeah. But I see the thing about taking Rory this week is that you miss out on the opportunity to roster multiple guys who I think have really good winning upside. Like the 7K range is nice. There's a lot of guys there they're really good and enticing, but ultimately at the end of this week, I expect to see somebody who's probably, I don't know, 8K, definitely 8K or 8,500 and above. At the end of the day, I expect that those guys to be hoisting the trophy, one of them. You know, I mean, is it really all that likely that somebody like, I don't know, Danny Lee, Brendan Steele, to end up beating out every single one of these names in the 8,600 and up range? I mean, JB Holmes. So
I mean,
I get.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, but if you go compare that to the rest of the field still has the advantage. That's the thing. That's how I'm thinking about it, and that's how I'm going to approach it. It is a risky situation, but if you're going to roster Rory, you're going to have to take risks, and you can't just have like 30% of Rory and be okay with it. You have to have a high percentage of Rory to be able to make it pay off because everybody's going to have Rory this week. So it's you have to be either 100% on him to get full value, or you're going to have to fade him entirely and hope that he just screws up. That's kind of how I think that people are thinking about it, and that's how I'm thinking about it.
Okay, I can get on board with that. So then talk about Cash. I mean, you're probably not, I assume, probably not rostering Rory and Cash.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to be like attacking the 9,000s and like mid sevens and just stick around that range and be really balanced in my approach. I mean, it's not a week where you have to like get like all the top price guys this week. You don't have to make a starts and scrubs lineup like we have had. Crap, I can't speak, but like we've had to in the past. This is what I'm trying to say, but so it's a really good situation, and you can really make a cash team that you really like this week, which is kind of scary in a sense, but it's also a lot more comforting than having to roster some just like really hacky guy who only makes like 40% of his cuts.
Yeah, I mean, so think about this. I'm trying to pull up here. So let's see what this looks like. You start out with, let's say Phil, Hideki, and JB Holmes. You've got 7,400 per player to work with in cash. I mean, to me, those three guys seem heavily likely to make the cut. You start out with those guys, and then you find some of the low 7K guys that make you feel comfortable. When you start out that way, you can actually get back all the way up to Charles Howell III, probably. I don't know. I mean, cash this week, it feels like starting out in that 9K range is the optimal way to go.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to be making 3 or 4 cash game lineups and just playing the shit out of them. I think it's a great week to just like attack cash lineups this week.
I like it. I like it. So how
I'm
about
actually. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say let's dip down into this 8K range and talk about. I mean, I like everybody in the 9K range. You guys saw my GPP exposure. Basically, I'm gonna be targeting Justin Rose and then a whole bunch of these 9K salary golfers, with the exception of Patrick Reed.
Yeah, it's such it's a really good week to make lineups. It really is, and you don't really have to think too hard about what you're doing. It's just like you just have to force yourself not to get cute with it, right? That's kind of the main spiel with everything. I'm actually going to make a lineup right now with Rory and kind of just see Lucas Glover, put that in there, just have Ryan, then I can get Jamie Lovemark, and then I can get Graham Dillette. Yeah, I mean, I can make it such solid lineups this week with Rory. I mean, it's so like nice to be able to actually do it. Yeah, but getting to the 8K range, I really think just go like Chucky 3 sticks and bust. I think that's the way to go. It's not a situation where you should really overthink it. I think that's kind of how I'm going to be attacking it in this 8K range. Byung Hung An, I might put in a couple lineups if I can, but majority will just have like Chucky 3 sticks, and that's how I'm going to attack it. And also have Jim Furyk as well.
Yeah, so I've been waiting all week to ask you this question because we talked about it on the podcast. We talked about Jim Furyk. I'm very concerned about Jim Furyk being sort of rusty. There's a lot of sharp guys talking about how we should wait and see with Jim Furyk. Right now, I have Jim Furyk in I think 20-some% of my lineups, but I'm thinking about pivoting 100% of those Jim Furyk shares to Charles Howell III, who I have 0% of right now.
That's interesting that you have 0 Chucky 3-6. That's a really scary situation for you.
I don't know. I mean, let's look at the course here. So, what are the things that play well on this course?
So, it's not overly distance. That's the thing that people kind of get carried away with. Yeah, it's nice to have distance, but we have so many guys in the past that have just been insanely good here who just like hit it 280 and 270, and that's like Jim Furyk. And then you have guys who hit it like Chucky 3-6, and it's about the same. And yeah, I mean, I think people are just really overthinking that you really have to have driving distance this week. I don't know if that really answers your question or not, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
So my model doesn't say driving distance at all. That being said, a lot of the bombers show up in my model for other reasons. But so the one thing, CH3 does not project very well for me, and one of the reasons is sand save percentage. That's one of the stats that shows up here. And again, this is so my my algorithm for pulling data for 2016 broke this week, and I didn't have time to fix it. So I'm only looking at 2015 stats this week. So that comes with a little bit of an asterisk, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not really.
I mean,
sold
he's ranked 59th in sand saves. So there's
through
that.
2016.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not great, but not terrible, probably, right? I mean, 69.
I mean,
what was it?
59th. I mean, that's like way above average. I mean, he's like one of the better players. I mean, that's 59th out of like 400 golfers. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but there's 150 in the field, and probably the top 50 above him are in the field.
Let me see.
Maybe not.
Quick.
I mean, but a lot of those guys above him, I'm sure, are in the field in that stat.
Yeah, totally.
Regardless, I guess take it with a grain of salt. Like I said, that's what I'm doing because I probably will have CH3 in cash. I mean, he's shown that he's the type of golfer who can make cuts on any type of course, right? I mean, we know he's a cut maker, so I feel comfortable saying that he isn't necessarily ruled out on a course like this. But at the same time, again, we're comparing him, at least in my case, we're comparing him to Jim Furyk. And to me, I feel fairly strongly that I'm going to pivot off Jim Furyk because I said it on the podcast, but say that this is the same scenario with a different golfer who wasn't injured, just was off for 15 weeks or whatever it was, since September, I think. So let's say that Jim, let's say it's Jason Day or Jordan Spieth. They take 15 weeks off. Nobody knows why. No injury. We know they're healthy, and then they come back. I mean, how would you feel in that scenario? Let alone Jim Furyk's 45, and we know he has a serious wrist injury. I mean, I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I talk myself off of Jim Furyk. I could see him making the cut, but we've seen guys be rusty after long layoffs, even when they're healthy.
I mean, you have to think Jim Furyk is practicing, right? That's the thing. He's not just coming into this just cold turkey, like he hasn't picked a golf club for like some amount of time. I mean, he has been practicing, and there's no like deniability about that, right? So, and yeah,
but that's the case with any golfer. I mean, any golfer who takes a big long layoff.
Totally.
is
Totally.
practicing.
I 100% agree. I mean, it's just the wait and see approach doesn't work. I mean, in GPPs, you have to go full force into GPPs that you're going to be risky. And if you think a golfer can do what he can, then there's no reason why you shouldn't play him. And like the wait and see approach with like Patrick Reed, I think that was really stupid just because he played like 8 rounds over like 72, and people are like, oh, we should wait and see until we play him, and until like right after he does well, it's too late, right? Everybody's gonna get on him, so and then you can't play him as like a GPP play, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. So I really hate the wait and see approach. I just think it's a really stupid way to think about it, because if you're just waiting for someone to play well, then you're already too late. That's how That's how I think about it.
I think that's the most compelling argument, honestly. Like that's the reason I put him in there in the first place, because I told myself it's Jim Furyk. We're not going to get another opportunity to play him at 8K again, probably the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But even by next week, I would if he makes a cut. Let's say he makes a cut, finishes 40th. I suspect he'll be in the 85, 9K range. I mean,
yeah, and then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, he's back, he's okay, he's
right?
Okay."
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jim Furyk's fine, and right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I will leave the 14% of him I have. I mean, I don't expect him to be over 5%. Like I think he'll be really, really low owned.
Yeah, you're never gonna get this like chance to roster like Jim Furyk at such a low price point ever again, and no one's talking about him at all. So I really...
Damn it, Zach! I'm going down in flames with Jim Furyk because of you. Okay.
Boom. Good.
I mean,
Good,
to be fair though, I only have 14% of him, so
yeah, it's
realistically, I don't have to go down in flames. I mean, yeah. But if let's say he comes back and he's the Jim Furyk we know and love and pars the shit out of every hole, I mean. Finds himself backdoors a top 15 or whatever, then there's not going to be many people who see that upside either.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, I'm not really too worried about Jim Furyk. It's just going to be if he comes out slow or not, and
right.
There's a chance that he comes out slow, but there's also a chance that he gets the top 10. So I mean, for whatever that's worth, but I really think the wait and see approach with Jim Furyk is not a good thing to go with. I really don't in GPPs. Cash game wise, there's merit to that, but other than that, I don't think that's the game theory play to go with it. And then
awesome, good discussion. I thought that was really, really relevant. Now I have somebody to blame if that's the other good side,
Yeah, that's always a good thing. Like, just have someone to blame. Fuck you, Zach, you fuckface. Like.
All right, so how about this 7K range, Zach? We gotta probably get moving a little bit here so we can make our lineups at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that Patton Kizzire was like highly touted. I mean, there's a lot of other plays that you can really go around and make a really solid lineup, and I don't really think that you need Patton Kizzire this week. I mean, yeah, he does quite a few things well, but it's not like necessarily the things that you want at this golf course, right? I mean, like going from his proc stats, I mean, he's terrible. I want guys who are going to hit it close from like the long distances, and if Patton Kizzire can't do that, I mean, he's screwed. I mean, just adding a little context to this, I mean, Patton Kizzire only hits at like 285, 290, and so he's going to have more shots in from like a certain distance, and that certain distance is going to be 150 to like 200 plus, and so he has more shots there. There's more reason to think about how he plays it. I mean, he's not a bomber, so he's never going to have like a shot from 175 like Bubba Watson. So where Bubba Watson might be terrible from that prox, he's not going to have the same amount of shots that Patrick Kazire has, and Patrick Kazire has a greater number than most players in that range, and that just kind of like scares me a little bit. Well, not scares me. I just don't think that there's merit to rostering Patrick Kazire when you need guys who can like stick it from 200 plus or 175 plus and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but one thing that I've sort of uncovered, and I've been in the middle of trying to build this projection model for ownership for a while, but the recent form is what reigns king in terms of ownership projections. So there is certainly a factor in terms of who's talking about who. You know, the Oreo Jenkins factor, I'll call it. But Patton Kazire, his raw projection without any adjustments is 9%, and that's almost solely based on his recent form. You know, he has no course history, so you know, I think just in that aspect alone, it's easy to see how his ownership percentage would be inflated. And then, you know, that coupled with the fact that people are talking about him probably because of his recent form is going to inflate him probably even more. You know, he's one that I could see bumping up to 10, 12%.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think he's going to be like 15%, 15, 20%, right around that range. And I genuinely think that you don't really need to go Patrick Kazire. There's so many better options that you can go and tag and have a better advantage on the field. I mean, I think Patrick Kazire is like the easiest fade in this range, I think. How about you?
I can see that. You know, I agree with what you're saying. And to me, this doesn't really feel like the type of course that's going to be easy for a first-timer either.
No.
You know, it's a long, difficult course. You gotta know where to place the ball off the tee. You know, not necessarily be accurate off the tee, but you have to know where to miss, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't think driving accuracy is necessarily something we want to look at, but we do want to know that experience is going to be important here, if that makes sense.
I mean,
I don't know.
Also, Patton Kazire doesn't even hit the ball straight. I mean, he doesn't even hit it far, and he doesn't hit it straight. I mean, he hits it into like gazebos or the grandstands on golf courses, and so I mean, he's probably going to be hitting into trees, and then he's going to have to hit punch shots out, and then he's going to have to try to save par, and then he's going to get a 2-putt bogey, and it's going to just go downhill from there, I think.
I feel like you're talking me into using the global swap feature because I have Patton Kazire at 30% right now, but I think you have a really compelling argument. You know, I mean, he's one of the guys that, because all I have to look at this week is 2015 stats, I don't feel comfortable with his projection because there's not much data out there. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
At least outside of this year. So, well, I guess I should say for this tournament.
Yeah, going off the tee-wise, going through this year, he's 191th in total driving, and then 165th in total bombing. He's 101st in driving distance. He's 196th in driving accuracy, and he's 193rd in good drive percentage. So that's just that. Yeah. I mean, I want guys who are going to get off the tee fairly well. I mean, if you can like hit the ball a mile, then there's some merit to like actually rostering him. But if you can't even hit a mile and still be in the trees, I'd just
Yeah,
rather look elsewhere.
I could agree with that. Get on board with that.
So,
So I think the last guy I want to just briefly mention is Jason Bone. He hasn't. I mean, he hasn't really performed all that well recently, but I mean, I don't know. You see Jason Bone performing well in a strong field like this? I mean, to me, the answer seems like yes. He does have 3 top 10s here. He had a long stretch of myth cuts and bad course history as well. So he has some decent course history. He has some bad course history, but to me, he feels like a guy nobody's going to be on.
yeah,
Hasn't
because
really
of his
played
heart
a
attack.
whole lot. Right. I mean, he hasn't played a whole lot recently. He's been off. He had the withdrawal with the heart attack, and then he's been off for a long time. Hasn't really come back in full swing, but kind of like you talked about with Jim Furyk, do we stay off him until after the fact, or do we get on him before he hits? And it feels like if there's going to be a course that hits, Jason Bone's pretty long off the tee, if I'm not mistaken. Seems like it could be a course that he comes back and does really well on.
Yeah, I mean, ninth in the fourth in the last 2 years. Yeah, I really think that if there's going to be any situation where you get on Jason Bone, it's going to be this week. And like you said, with the same argument with Jim Furyk, yeah, I think it's a great way to look at it. So, got a question from Eric. So, Steele, all right, one of my biggest sticking points in the 7K range, Steele Kokrak area. Yeah, I mean, Brendan Steele, I just really think is underpriced. I don't really think that he should be in the semi. Like, Patton Kazire and Jason Bode should swap places, I think. And just thinking about Scott Stallings is $100 cheaper than Brendan Steele is kind of intriguing to me, especially. I mean, sorry, I'm trying to process what's going on in my mind so I can speak, but Brendan Steele, Jason Kokrak, Jason Bone, Jamie Donaldson, and then James Hahn, maybe. Those are the only guys I think that you should really target in this lower 7K range. Everybody else, I think will just fall on the wayside. Maybe Scott Langley will pick up here. Maybe. I mean, he's a really solid player off the tee, so that might be something that you might want to just think about. But other than that, I just think attacking Brendan Steele and Jason Bone and maybe Jason Kokrak is where you're going to get most of your upside and money.
I can agree with that. I mean, Kokrak on paper seems like a great play at a course like this, but
he's so volatile though.
Yeah, I won't be on him. I don't think he does. He does project fairly well for me. I mean, like I said, on paper, statistics wise, he seems like a good fit for this course. But I don't know. I mean, I don't find myself rostering Jason Kokrak very often. It doesn't seem like he has the upside that we're looking for. Jason Bone is, I don't know. Brendan Steele and Jason Bone both have established themselves as guys who have high upside. I mean, at some point, does Jason Kokrak come out and have a round? I mean, he has some top tens. He has a second place finish this year, but just doesn't seem like he has the upside I'm looking for consistently.
Yeah, for sure. I'd rather get all over on Brendan Steele and just have myself a heyday with Brendan Steele just being that lowly priced. It's such a great value play. It really is.
Yeah.
So how?
All right, so
Yeah.
let's roll through the 6K real quick because we got
Yeah.
to get onto our lineup building, I think, here pretty quick. Who are the guys that you really like in this range?
Luke List and HV3 are my top guys in this range. I mean, there's no like deniability. I think these guys can get a top 10 or either win both of them. But I'm really pulling for HV3 this week. And I genuinely think that he can really win on this course. I mean, he's just so close. And so is Luke List, it seems. I can really see Luke List winning this year. I mean, just competing with like a lot of the best players in the world and just going on with it. I just think these guys have the two best chances that you'll see in this range to win a golf tournament. Um, have you read that Pro Golf synopsis yet?
Yeah, some of it, not all of it.
Have you gotten to like the green zone, yellow zone, red zone, like section?
No, but you talked about that before. I think I remember you mentioning it.
Yeah. So like going back into that, he says that the highest predictable area is from 125 to 175, and then the second highest correlated area in success is from 175 to 200 plus, and like HV3 just fits the bill like perfectly. I mean, he kind of struggles from like 150 to 175 for whatever reason, but from 125 to 150 he's 40th, and then 175 to 200 he's 26th, and then 200 plus he's 29th. And um, Richie was saying like that's where you're gonna find the highest correlation to golfers with the best potential is looking for golfers in that area on like literally any course. If you can get a guy who's solid in those ranges, then those guys are going to have like the highest potential to do well. And that's kind of what happened with me on Stewart. Like I literally just looked at those proxies. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. Oh, he's like really, really good. So play him, and then he wins. And it's really interesting because if you go to past like tournaments and everything like that, and you just like look at the guys who did well, and you look at their proc stats from 125 to 175, it's really interesting to see like the correlation of guys who actually play pretty well like every week. It's really interesting, and I think that's where you should really focus on DK scoring, and I think that's going to have a high like the highest correlation for DraftKings scoring is if you look at 125 to 175 consistently. Or yeah, I mean it's a really good indicator to like find guys who could be low owned or just have like the highest potential outright.
I like it. Makes a lot of sense too. I mean that's a shot range that you would expect to see a lot of. You know, when you play around,
yeah, exactly.
You're taking a lot of that type of shot, just like putting. You know, I mean, you take a lot of putts and around, and that's a big way to affect your overall score. I would imagine approaches from that wrist range are really similar. The couple of guys that I'll mention in this range, Anirban Lahiri, I think sort of fits the profile here. I could see him doing fairly well here. Morgan Hoffman really stands out in the projections in a pretty big way here. You know, I'm not sure how well I'm sold on the idea that he'll do well here, but I will have some ownership of him for sure. How much I'm not exactly sure yet. Probably 15% or so. I don't think I'll have to have a whole lot of him, but he does project really, really well for what it's worth. Lucas Glover seems a little underpriced at 6,300. I like him. He is another guy that I don't think really fit the profile here. Does he? I mean, he's not particularly.
I mean, he's won here in the past.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. I think the year he won, he just like went into a coma and just knocked every putt down, basically. If I'm not mistaken.
Lucas Glover is 37th in driving distance, so he hits at about
really
like 295.
Okay, so it probably doesn't rule him out at the very least. But he projects well. I think he's underpriced. He stands out a little bit to me, so I'll have quite a bit of him. And that's
coma.
really probably it. Yeah, I know. I think that's a good term. We might have to stick with that, Zach. We'll have to say that on the podcast at some point. Went and do a putting coma and woke up with a win. So those are the guys. I think Morgan Hoffman, Lucas Glover, Anirban Lahiri. Those are the guys I think I'll be targeting in this range. And then basically, not very many people in the 5K range. Davis Love III looks like he's pretty well underpriced at $5,500. I don't know that he has really any upside, but probably a decent cash option.
How do you like Sean O'Hare? I love Sean O'Hare.
I won't be on him. I don't disagree with your take on thinking Sean O'Hare could do something here. I just won't be in this 5K range very often. I mean, I won't find myself down here. Especially fading Rory, I don't really have a reason. Lineup construction wise, I don't find myself down here.
I mean, just looking at this 6K and under. I mean, Nick Taylor, Henrik Norlander, Roberto Castro, Ricky Barnes, David Toms, Tim Wilkinson, Scott Pickney. I mean, I love this 5K range. I mean, that's really weird to say, but I actually really like it. There's a lot of guys who have a lot of potential to do well.
Yeah, but this field is very different than the recent fields we've seen, Zach. I mean, you got to remember
really
these guys are. I mean, these guys are guys that may have upside in fields like the ones we've seen the past 3-4 weeks, but this is not that type of tournament, I don't think. I mean,
totally. I get you.
I've been wrong, but this just does not feel like the type of tournament where Scott Pinkney can squeeze out a top 10. It just doesn't seem like it's that type of event to me.
Yeah, I totally get your point. I really do. But it's there is guys who have upside in this range, though. I mean, frickin' Roberto Castro got an 8th and a 32nd here before. So, I mean, it's not a bad range to look at, really, I think. Rory Sabatini's done well here before.
That's what I want to know. He went into some sort of...
Yeah, I mean, seriously, though, I mean, this is not a bad range at all. I mean, this is probably the best 5K range that you'll ever get yourself into. And by the way, I'm targeting Stephen Bowditch this week. He's coming off a 3-week break after coming off taking risks, cortisone shots, and getting 26 teeth just pulled and just redone and everything like that. So
he's not gone forever. Bowditch is not gone forever. Let's put it that way.
No, I mean, seriously, the only reason why he's been playing bad was because he even told me my wrist was shitty. I couldn't really swing the golf club. I was on drugs for 3 months straight because I had 26 teeth redone. So I couldn't go without pain medication. And so that makes complete sense. I mean, he wasn't in the right mind. He was playing at 60%, and finally having 3 weeks off to get everything sorted for himself, he can really put himself in a great position to be able to say fuck you all who called me a shit golfer. So
yeah, he's not gone forever. I mean, Clearly there was something wrong with him. Pro golfers don't shoot 80 in a WGC event for no reason.
And last season he was averaging 300, and then all of a sudden he goes to 275.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So yeah, like you said, there's obviously something wrong with him, and that's what it was. It looks like we don't have time to make a lineup. We kind of went over the time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's just do it rapid fire because I don't know who I'm going to play in our listener league.
Okay.
What do we start with at the top? We got 3 minutes. We can get through this.
Roars.
You're starting me with Rory?
Yes.
I just said I was on Fade Rory week, and you're going to put Rory as the first guy in the lineup. Great. Okay, that's fantastic. Really, really nice of you. All right, I'm gonna go Kevin Kisner.
Yeah, no worries.
Should be under-owned. Should be a good play here.
Okay. Hold on.
That leaves us
Okay,
with 7,300.
7,300. Lucas Glover.
Yeah. Lucas Glover. All right, let me. You're gonna give me a little room to work with this week, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with Patrick Rogers. 7,700.
All right. Rogers.
So we probably got enough contrarian stuff in here. We probably got to get a little bit of chalk. We got Patrick Rogers and Kevin Kisner, who should be pretty well under-owned, I think.
Let's see with Chucky. How much do we have left with Chucky?
7,500 basically.
Yeah, let's go with Chucky.
CH3?
Yeah.
All right, so that leaves us in the Jamie Donaldson range. Let's go with your boy HV3. Lock him in, pencil him in. Wait, you're not putting this in the listener league, are you?
No, I won't. I'll remember to take it out this time.
No, change somebody right now so that I don't have to get tweets from other people saying that you and I held hands while we were making this lineup.
Okay, I'll switch Jim Furyk with Kevin Kisner.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right. You want to do a cash lineup real quick? We got 1 minute cash lineup, or you want to skip it?
Yeah. Let's do a 1 minute cash lineup. See how that works. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Let's start ourselves out with Phil Mickelson, course history king.
Phil the Thrill. All right. Yep. I will get on. I'll give you some room to work with, and go Brendan Steele.
All right, I like it. I like it a lot. I'll beat you to the punch, and we'll throw CH3 in there. Cutmaker Guru.
Yes.
Gives us 8,400 to play with.
Rodnat.
CH3 train, baby!
Who?
Help. What? What was that? Oh, what's up, dude?
He said Rodnat.
I was like, what the hell? Who was talking?
Creeping in on that. Look, they're creeping in there.
I was like, what? All right.
I'm so confused.
Okay, I was like, what the hell? Kevin Chappell. Do Kevin Chappell.
Kevin Chappell in cash?
Yeah, dude.
Zach, you've lost your mind.
So good. Just watch him. He's going to get it.
Okay, if you say so. Okay, that gives us a little room to work with. Let's hop our way up to Just kidding, Hideki Matsuyama. That leaves you with 8K to go.
8K. Okay, Jamie Lovemark, obviously.
Okay.
Solid lineup.
Get on board with it. All right. Just know that all my guys are going to make the cut, Zach. So just please ensure that your guys make the cut this week, Zach.
Okay. I'll pray to Satan and make sure that happens.
Pray to Satan. All right.
All right, guys.
Well, I think we're getting booted up here by the fantasy golf metrics guys, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You guys can hang out. Big party for everyone.
Yeah. How are you guys doing? You looking forward to this week?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of just came out of nowhere. Obviously, with the extension on the Zurich, so it was kind of like a rush to get everything done, and all of a sudden, now it's Wednesday night, so it kind of came a little quicker than.
Yeah, here we are. All right. All right. Well, we'll let you guys do your thing. Good luck. Have fun.
Absolutely, guys.
take the money home this week. You know,
Let's do it.
do it for us. All right, we'll see you guys. See you, Zach.